Bill Maher would vote for Biden's head in a jar of blue liquid over Trump. I'm sorry. Like, when you're willing to admit that, you're basically saying, I have nothing. We have nothing to offer this country. We would prefer absolutely nothing over, doesn't everybody remember 2018 and 19? The economy was great, but they wouldn't shut up in the media. And so people like Bill Maher are so insane that they would right now be like, I would take a leaderless corpse and disarray and chaos.
But that's pretty close to what we've got now, actually. I mean, Bill Maher may be signaling that. I mean, Joe Biden effectively is, in some ways, just kind of a head in a jar.
That's a fair point.
Figuratively speaking.
It is funny. Rogan said the opposite. You can't vote for Biden. He's gone. Did you guys see the protest recently where I can't remember, he was giving a speech and some woman started yelling about healthcare, and he's just sitting there and he looks gone. I know Joe Rogan said, you can't vote for the guy, he's gone. And I'm like, I get it. It's like, he's gone because he says weird things. No, you watch him do his speeches. No, I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm meaning like when he's standing there and that woman started yelling, he's just standing there like this. I'm like, he has nothing's turning in that brain of his. He's not processing anything that's happening. And then he went, everybody deserves healthcare. And it's just like, wow, he is gone.
He's rough. He's, what is he, 80 years old now?
81.
He's 81.
81.
And he's having to deal with protesters too. For the first time, like coming to his rallies. Like he had a recent rally in the South and they're coming at him. And he's never had to deal with that. He doesn't deal with it well because it's an interruption. His whole thing when he's giving a speech, and I'll grant him this, when they have him and they know what the speech is going to be, like State of the Union, and they can squirrel him away for 5 days and they can get him on a sequence and time and dates and work out everything so the State of the Union is perfect, they do a good job. But he is not good off the cuff. And when you trip him up off his game by protesting at him in person, he does not know what to do.
He's not there.
No.
He's
you get the 1,000-yard stare and the buffering signal goes up and then he just comes back up to whatever it was he was doing, or like, yesterday he talked about taking the train across the Francis Scott Key Bridge while commuting. So he doesn't know. I mean, it's like, I've taken the train while commuting across the Francis Scott Key Bridge. No, there's no tracks on it ever. And yet that's how he opened up his remarks in the White House about the bridge.
No, have you guys, so recently, Ernie Hudson turned 78.
He looks great.
He looks awesome.
He looks, and it's going around Twitter, like how incredibly awesome this guy looks. And if you look at Joe Biden, it is clear the guy is falling apart. Dude, right? Even compared to Trump.
I went and saw Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. I liked it. People are saying they didn't like it. I guess it got bad ratings. I'm like, I don't know. What do you expect? You go to the movies, you eat popcorn. It's fun. Yep. And Ernie Hudson looks fantastic for 78. Here's the crazy thing. Bill Murray does not look very good. He's an old man. And his voice is a little raspy. It happens. But Ernie Hudson sounds like Ernie Hudson in the original Ghostbusters. That dude clearly is eating right, tracking his macros,
drinking water,
all that stuff.
There's probably a little TRT in there somewhere. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we'll vote for him. Right. So Bill Maher had this segment recently where he said he thinks that Donald Trump is going to win, that Biden's going to lose because hot dogs are more expensive. And then everyone laughs. And I just felt like that is the smarmiest, elitist, liberal thing you could possibly say. The hot dogs have gone up, so now they're going to vote for Trump. Bro, it's everything. It's rent. It's basic necessities. It's a 40-year-old guy making a viral video where he's like, I can't afford to feed my daughters. And he's like, well, your hot dogs are more expensive, so you're voting for Trump? Come on, man. It's like, no, my kids need to eat.
It's kind of a let them eat cake moment.
Yeah, and and his fat head is so impenetrable too, because it was about a month ago. I mean, it's crazy he's still making that joke, because he had Julianne Michaels on his podcast. I think it was about a month ago, and he was talking about how great the economy is. Like, the economy is great, and she was just like, you need to buy some effing eggs, and he was just like, I don't know what that means. I saw that. So I mean, even a month later, he's still trying to. So he always goes for the joke. That's why he makes this idiotic joke about Biden's head. He's going for the joke because he doesn't have any real principles to speak of, and he doesn't really have an ideology that guides him.
He doesn't know how much a loaf of bread costs.
That'd be an interesting thing. When do you think the last time he actually went shopping for
40
groceries.
40 years.
I mean, like, seriously, when has he actually had to interface with consumer prices in the real world?
I mean,
DoorDash now, maybe.
look, I mean, I don't know a whole, like, I'm not sure what bread costs because I'm a single guy. So like when I go and I buy enough food for me. So it's just like, I know it's going to be a couple $100. So I don't really pay a whole lot of attention. So it's like, I get it to be like, oh, I don't know the details. But at the same time, he's shown over and over and over multiple times in the past 6 months to a year that he's not really read into what the left is actually talking about, what the left actually thinks, and he's not read into what the average person thinks either. You know, he has hit a couple things where I kind of give him credit when he was pointing out that the left has gone really crazy and it's not good, that the left is trying to emulate Mao. Literally, that's a bad thing. So I give him some credit there, but I mean, that's really like, you're giving him credit for being like Hitler was bad, really, obviously, you know. So I don't know. I don't know what.
But I feel like all of this stuff is why you're seeing Gen Z shift to the right. I think it's just food's expensive, rent's expensive, and Democrats are gleefully cheering for giving it all away to non-citizens. And Bill Maher's laughing at you and insulting you. You know, Bill Maher, I don't know what the point of these jokes are to say like, haha, hot dogs are more expensive, so now Joe Biden's going to lose. It's like, dude, you're just insulting the working class. You're insulting poor people and young people. Does he not hear himself as he says these things?
Yeah, I think they're smart enough to figure out the deficit too. I mean, it was a different game. Maybe if you could have played this back when the national debt was significantly lower. But when you look at the percentage of American, percentage of tax income that the government takes in that they're just paying for debt servicing now, it's horrible. I think it's up to 70% is what I think I saw recently. So, looking at that and having hope for the future, how do you have hope for the future when you know that the hole is deep and everything's going up and it just doesn't look good for them? These liberal policies are really not the way of advancement for Gen Z.
I do wonder, what your average Gen Z or if they actually do think about that kind of stuff. They're, young people are notoriously politically unaware. And, I get it. Like, they kind of are like, I got all my life to worry about serious stuff. I just want to have fun now, which makes sense. But at the same time, if they are paying attention and if they are kind of plugged in to what the economy is doing and what the future looks like with the national debt and stuff, I kind of understand why they're like, look, whatever a different system is, we should go with that. Liberal, in my opinion, a liberal, republic, a democratic republic or liberal democracy, that's the best form of government that has essentially ever been tried. It gives the most benefit to the most amount of people that are in the society. But you have to manage it properly, and that means you can't just start turning the coffers into a way to fund the population where everyone can stick their hand in. And these things have been shown over and over and over in history. I mean, it's how Rome fell. They expanded to the citizenship to anybody just so they could get tax money and all these things. That kind of stuff is how republics and civilizations really fall. And we are doing nothing to fix any of the problems that we have, any of the real immediate problems. They're so worried about climate change, and yet most Western nations, don't have enough people that are replacing them. They don't teach the people that come into the country why the country is worth saving. So you have no desire to continue the society that they're moving to. They're just looking to extract. So it doesn't look good. You're right.
I think what we're seeing right now is Gen Z a few years ago, before they were heavily in the workplace, because now they're in their mid-20s. They're in their early to mid-20s and late teens. They're communists. Many of them were lefty because they couldn't afford things, but they also weren't in leadership positions. They hadn't yet inherited those positions. Now I bump into 24, 25-year-old Gen Z. These are early Gen Z or older Gen Z, whatever you want to call them. And now they're starting to run their own businesses, and now they're trying to get jobs. What they've lost is the communism. What they've retained is the disdain for the fractured system. So when you're young and you're like, I can't afford things, the machine is broken, we've been screwed over by the elites, what do? Well, if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not conservative when you're old, you have no head. So these young people are like, we need universal healthcare and free stuff. Then they get a job and they look at their paycheck and see the taxes and they go, I am still pissed off about the elites and the corrupt stealing all of my money. Donald Trump. Now they're going the other way, being like, leave me alone, let me make money and stop taking it from me. I'll take care of myself. I wonder how many of these people got out of college, these Gen Z kids, and they were more lefty. And then as soon as they had to fend for themselves, they were like, why am I having to work to give to someone else? And it's that realization where they were like, screw that, I'm voting for Trump.
I hope you're right. I do you see a lot of times kids are making TikToks or whatever talking about how.
Yeah, but you're talking about some of those are you talking about some of the really left mouthpieces on TikTok? Because there's a couple of those guys out there. I don't think that they're indicative at all of Gen Z. They would like to say that they are. I don't even want to say their names.
Well, no. I'm not talking.
No,
I'm not talking about the paid DNCs. I'm talking about
right.
I'm talking about the poor kids that don't know any better.
Yeah.
Where they say things like, why is it so hard just to live? And there are kids that take it to the extreme that are like, why should I have to work to live? Like blah blah blah. And it's like, all right, you're a little out of your mind there, but
just in general, I give Gen Z more credit than maybe some people do. I think they know what's going on. That's a good thing. Absolutely.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.